Hi, everybody. Tonight is Thursday, January 14th. It's 5 o'clock, and welcome to the Abington School Committee. Tonight on our agenda, we have a consideration of a memorandum of understanding with the Abington Education Association on learning models during a pandemic. And Peter is going to give you all more information.
So unless you're Wendy and Jackie, you've really already had 3 meetings. We've updated you along the way on the progress. You've seen copies of things, and so I want to thank you for that. But I want to especially thank Wendy and Jackie because since the middle of December, they had at least 4 or 5 meetings on top of that went on for quite a while. A lot of work went into this. I also want to thank the faculty, the staff, the administration, and the Abington Education Association team, and our tech department, because there's a lot that's been going on behind the scenes. We'll spend as much time on this evening as people would like, but this is just a sliver of time on this topic because, as I just outlined, people have spent quite a bit on it. If I could just maybe provide a history of how we got here that I know that the committee already knows, but for those that may watch this later in the community, it may be a benefit to them. Everyone knows that mid-December, beginning of December, we asked the association if they would talk about the learning models and adjustments to it, changes to it, because when we made this original plan, nobody had ever been through teaching and learning in a pandemic. To their credit, they came to the table. We were beginning to talk about changes that we would want to put into place. And at the time, we didn't know this, but almost just after we began this process, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education took the time on learning and designated, chunked it out with specific assignments. They didn't increase the time, but they, in particular, increased the amount of time Massachusetts schools provide synchronous instruction. The Board of Education for the state of Massachusetts voted those changes, and they go into effect on the 19th of January. So the focus of our discussions really went quickly into making changes that would address improvements for everyone and changes that would address those time on learning allocations. Originally, the plan that we had was approved by the Department of Education, and it was a plan that we agreed with everyone would provide the maximum amount of flexibility for families with some asynchronous time so that the chaos of homes, they'd have time to do work and move forward with lessons as they could, as they needed. And the state of Massachusetts moved to a more synchronous rollout. This was one of the things that was talked about at the time that we opened. It's not the direction that the school department went in, and lo and behold, over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about doing more synchronous work with our students. Everyone here, I think, already knows and should know that the change that people will really feel and see in this is that on the hybrid remote days for the green and the wave, those 2 days, either the Monday or the Tuesday or the Thursday or the Friday, teachers will be online with classes that those students at home will be they'll have the opportunity to engage in. And I want to be upfront and clear that I do believe that this will be an improvement depending on the amount of engagement that the students are able to participate in with these changes on that Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. It will depend a little bit on, quite a bit on the age of the student. It will depend on the amount of time they attend and the amount of access that they avail themselves of. Because during this period of time, the teacher will still have students in front of them that they will be teaching, and they will be their primary focus, and then they will provide learning. They'll provide a beginning, a middle, and an end. They'll provide information, they'll provide learning activities, and then they will be able to, at the end of the lesson, try to bring people back, answer questions, culminate the activity, the learning with the remote or the group that's tuning in from home. So that will take place according to the schedule that the students already have on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. A great deal of communication has already gone out about this. Our teachers have already started to work with this. This is a very quick change for them, and to their credit, they're into the weeds in terms of working out the logistics that they can. And this model that's going to start pending approval of the committee will be better in February and March than it will be on January 19th, because this will be another shift in practice for all of our educators. This will be a shift for homes and for an adjustment for our students. This won't be a silver bullet. I do believe that this will be an improvement as people are able to engage, and we will get better as we go. I've probably left something out because there is so much. And if I have, I know, Jackie and Wendy, if there's more to add, you were there every step of the way through this process. I want, tell me what I'm missing, and I'm ready to answer any questions that people might have that I can.
Did you talk about Wednesdays and any shifts in Wednesday, or what people at home might expect? Or I can't remember if you talked about Wednesday.
I didn't. There have been minor shifts in Wednesday, but not to the extent that people will see any or feel any major changes in their Wednesday schedules. The Wednesday shifts are different grade levels in different schools and different places in terms of adjusting some of the check-ins to a little bit more engagement with subject with topical outlines about different things that teachers will be working on with students. But generally that's not a change that's taking place across the district. Minor adjustments here and there.
What about the attendance that's expected? Would that be through the schools, or do you want to touch on that?
Yep, great point. Attendance will be taken. We have to have a record of who is participating. So our plan is to do the in-person attendance and the virtual attendance, and then there's absent. The purpose in that is that we just need to know. We want to hold ourselves accountable to who's there, so that at the end of this experience, or during the experience, if someone's disappearing on us, we want to reach out to them, encourage them to participate, engage as much as possible. It's important for us to keep those running records and try to bring people in as we go.
Peter, I had a question I was going to hold, but it kind of you're feeding into it. The question just came up about attendance. Because every class essentially is going to be streamed all 4 days, I mean, could this essentially create a virtual academy in every single classroom? Like if parents chose to not send their kids in?
We hope that it doesn't, but we recognize that could happen in certain households for different reasons.
And maybe, Chris, to follow that, actually, one of the comments I wanted to make was just around the language in the MOU. There is some language specific to prioritization of learning. And while the children, both at virtually and in school, have opportunity to be accessible, have the teacher accessible to them, there is some language and that's specific around that the teacher will prioritize while trying to meet all the needs. The in-person children will sort of be prioritized. So that looks like things like parent questions and them unmuting is not really going to work well. So as a virtual guest in the classroom, you really just have a window in to listen. So that might be the motivation, not to take the full at home, but I guess potentially someone could.
Yeah.
But I do
hope
think
they don't.
I hope they don't either. Yeah.
It's just something I thought of as I'm sitting here thinking about what's happening. So Thanks for explaining, Peter. And Jackie.
I guess I only just have a comment, and I just sort of feel compelled to make this comment because I teach in this type of model, particularly in an elementary school, K through 5. And so I guess I'm just pleading with the community who might see this or be listening to this to just expect this not to start smooth. Like I think we, the people in these little boxes on the screen, um, have really spent time on the ins and outs of this, as well as all of the members of the Abington Education Association. I mean, there's a lot of worry, but there's a lot of understanding that this is good for kids. Um, I just know from experience that this works best when people are patient, when people expect things to not go well and recognize that if you give us or them a little bit of time, that them being the children, the staff, everyone, it will get better. So that's just a public plea.
Peter, I know I talked to you earlier today, and I don't know if this information might be kind of helpful for, I mean, if everyone here may already know or the community, but I was asking about, how the teaching and learning is going to be done. Like, what kind of cameras are we using? Laptops? Like, will it be split screens? Like, will the kids at home see the classroom? All those kinds of things. Like, I know that's questions that have been asked of me, and I'm sure it's questions people have of what it's going to look like exactly. So I don't know if maybe you can speak more about that.
Thank you. Because you're right. So primarily the laptops are going to be used, and there are different things like document cameras or being able to share the screen, but it's primarily going to be the laptop and the teacher voice. And if the teacher has to move because their primary attention is the students in front of them, the quality of that voice is going to go down. And it's not going to be a high def, high sound quality experience for people. That doesn't mean that it won't be worth engaging in, because the teachers are going to be working hard to, like I described, have a beginning and a middle and an end of a lesson so that they can introduce something. Perhaps students that are online will go for 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever amount of time it is, and then come back, and then there'll be a wrap up, things like that. But because the primary focus is the students in the classroom, knowing that those students are going to switch, the experience engaging online is going to be one where at times it's going to be difficult to follow, because the laptop isn't going to be on the whole class. It may be, again, the teacher voice, even interfacing the laptop with the whiteboard. There's so much glare on the whiteboard, you can't see the whiteboard. And so it may be chart paper, graph paper, document camera. It may be sharing a screen. It may just be the teacher's voice, or it may be you go off and work, and I'll come back and check at a certain time period.
Peter, do you want to touch on the specials to let people know how that will go?
The specials are going to be done basically as best as could be expected. So if it's a specialty area subject where it's as simple as engaging the way the other classes are, that'll happen. If something's going on for the in-person students that can't happen, and let me give you an example. If the PE class is outside, if the art class is using clay, if the PE class is outside, there's no internet outside for them to stream an experience, and there's no point in doing that. So alternative activities would be provided. If an art class is using clay, we're not going to expect that families are going to run down to the store and buy clay. It's just not available in most homes. And so an alternative experience would be provided.
And Peter, currently, I think the schedule's kind of run where specials are only on your in-person days. Right. So that may change now, right? As part of this, like they may run I know like in the middle school, Monday, Tuesday would be day 1, day 2, and then Thursday, Friday they'd repeat day 1 and day 2 for at least those purposes anyway, specials purposes.
So the way that it falls in the schedule would be available to students. And if it doesn't fall in the schedule, it wouldn't be. And people may ask, why so few sessions? It's because our specialists sometimes are teaching, 9, 10 periods a day, especially at the early elementary level. So we can't just add additional, PE classes for those students that are home.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Wendy, I just have one, if you don't mind. Peter, we talked about this. I know I'm pretty sure it's not addressed in any kind of agreement that we're looking at approving tonight, but I know we've discussed this process, and that's like the status of, if we have a change into full remote, the status of special needs students and how that may work. Can you just maybe touch upon where that may sit right now?
Specifically, I believe what you're asking is about the high need students.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yep. In special needs. And that's still an ongoing conversation with the association.
Okay, thanks.
Hope to have more on that soon.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns? No. So Peter, should we vote on this, or do you have anything else?
And if the committee would consider it, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion for the consideration of a memorandum of understanding with the Abington Education Association on learning models during a pandemic?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Like I said, this is just one sliver in time. People, even if you weren't on the negotiating team, you had 3 meetings on this. So and nobody's getting paid a nickel.
And if any parents have any questions or concerns, they can reach out to their child's teacher and principal, and then go from there.
That's how we've tried to roll this out. I gave an initial piece at the school committee meeting, the last school committee meeting, communicated through constant contact. Principals have communicated, and teachers are then, drilling down. There's also meetings going on with the students themselves to talk about expectations as all of this rolls out. So
Perfect. Excellent. So I guess I would ask if anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So our next school committee meeting is January 26th at 7 p.m. So we will see you all then.
thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.